The story begins with a man named Herbie. From an old race car that was the best race car of its time and has never been. Herbie had not lost the competition. Together, Herbie and his owner used to reach many difficult places easily, but one day Herbie had a very dangerous accident, after which he started losing every competition continuously. Finally, his owner decided to sell him in the scrapyard. That day, Herbie met Dave, the owner of a junkyard, but Herbie didn't like him at all. Then the truck driver told Dave not to bother Herbie because the truck was considered a sign of disrespect. Absolutely not tolerated. When Dave went to get Herbie out of the truck, Herbie spilled petrol on his shoes. The driver pushed Herbie from behind and Dave started pulling him by the chains. At first Herbie tried his best not to move, but suddenly he found the way out. When he saw her, she took advantage of the opportunity and ran out, but during this time her tires burst with iron. Now Herbie got stuck in the nails and got punctured. Now Herbie had to stay there along with the other junk cars despite not wanting. She knew that after a few days she too would be crushed and destroyed. Well, a few weeks after this we see a girl named Maggie Payton. Maggie arrived at her graduation on a skateboard. Her father was very happy with her because she was the first girl in her family to graduate. She was a voracious reader. Feeling like a family, Maggie's father Ray was a race car coach and he invited Maggie to watch her brother Ray Jr. race. When they both got there, they met Sally, Ray J's sponsor, but like always, this time also while driving Ray Jr. has an accident. Actually, Ray Jr. is preparing for a professional racing competition. He was doing it, but the problem was that he did not have the skill of racing. Well, later when Maggie came home, she saw the paintings on the wall which reminded her of her grandfather who was the best racer of his time and got inspired by him. Maggie also started racing at the age of 15. She also wanted to earn name in the racing world like her grandfather, but one day Maggie had an accident and then everything changed, after which her father allowed her to take up racing. Well, now her father said that tomorrow morning he will go to buy Maggie's graduation gift. The next morning Maggie and Ray went to the junkyard so that Maggie could choose the car of her choice. Then Herbie's eyes fell on Maggie and he thought that she goes with Maggie to her house. Herbie tried to go to Maggie, but due to the missing rear tire, she was not able to move, and at the same time she tried to crush Herbie. To protect herself, Herbie started honking his horn loudly so that Maggie would notice him, but Maggie liked a marked car parked in front of Herbie. Now she was going to seal the deal with Dave. At the last moment, Herbie came loose from the crane and fell on the mark, which shattered the cart. Ultimately, Maggie had no other choice, so she decided to buy Herbie. After bringing Herbie home, Ray made some repairs on the car and asked Maggie to take it to Kevin's garage. When Maggie got inside Herbie, a letter appeared on the dashboard from Maggie's old owner, telling her to take good care of Herbie. But as soon as Maggie started the car, it started moving out of control on its own and Maggie got badly scared. She went straight from there to Kevin's garage. Today Maggie met her school friend Kevin after many years. Kevin had been in love with Maggie since his school days, but he could never express his feelings to her. Well, he said that he would repair Herbie properly, but for this he would have to take Herbie for a test drive. When Maggie and Kevin went out for a drive, Herbie was emitting a lot of smoke on the road. Frustrated with this, Maggie decided to return him, but Herbie would not let that happen. He lifted his front tire and went out of Maggie's control. Rapidly she started walking. Now she went straight to a sports car museum where Maggie met her school classmate Trip. Trip was the Nextel Cup champion, that is why a crowd gathered around to see him. Here Herbie started blowing the horn again and Maggie honked the horn. He opened his hood to close it, but at the same time Herbie threw petrol on him and ruined his clothes, but then Kevin found the trunk. When Trip saw Maggie's car, he laughed at its poor condition and told Maggie to leave the car back at the circus. Hearing this, Herbie got angry. And he scratched Trip's car with his windshield. Seeing this, Trip got furious and the people present there said that they should settle the matter by racing. Maggie got out of the car, tried to apologize to Trip when she came out, but Herbie herself closed all the windows and doors and went straight to the track. Soon Herbie started his gear and the race started. Maggie tried to control Herbie, but Herbie was uncontrollable. Now Herbie had a Trip car with his old parts too. When they reached the level of Trip, Trip tried to push him off the track by hitting them. At that time, Maggie also got angry and decided to defeat Trip. She thought of supporting Herbie instead of trying to control him, and now both of them together they again reached Trip's level. Trip once again tried to hit him, but this time Herbie turned himself very neatly, which Trip was also surprised to see. Now both of them were near the finish line and Herbie was on the side. Safety bar installed finally. After the race was over, Trip was very angry because he had lost to a sour car. Well, later Maggie went to the garage and told Kevin that she did not win this race. In fact, Herbie himself won, but Kevin did not pay much attention to him and congratulated him on his victory. The biggest thing was that Maggie won the National Cup in a 1963 car. The champion was defeated. Then the next morning, Maggie saw that her father and brother were having a fight. Actually, due to Ray J's poor performance, they lost another sponsor. At that time, Sally came to their house in her yellow Beetle. So Herbie fell in love with her as soon as he saw her. Meanwhile, Sally showed Ray the video of yesterday's race, and Ray was surprised to see that Maggie won the race with this sour car, but he was very angry that Maggie took part in the race despite his refusal. Then Maggie told him to calm down, that his friend Max was driving the car and not him. Now Maggie decided that she would take part in the race in Max's name. On the other hand, Tripp was extremely disappointed at his loss. His manager Larry tried to convince him that a normal race doesn't matter, but this time it came down to Tripp's ego, so he said he wanted to race again. 2 days to ask to organize a race competition because he knew that Max, i.e. Maggie, would definitely come for the race. Meanwhile, when Maggie reached Kevin's garage, Kevin showed her his new project, according to which he was going to transform Maggie into a new race car, but Maggie said that she can no longer participate in the race because for years earlier, when he had an accident, he had promised his father that he would never race. Meanwhile, Herbie's eyes fell on an ad in the newspaper in which the winner of the racing competition was going to get a prize of $1,000. As soon as Maggie sat in the car, Herbie moved his hood, due to which the newspaper flew straight to the windshield. When Maggie saw that the winner of the race will get the entire $1,000, so he thought that this money would cover his expenses of going to New York. Then Kevin said that if Maggie is ready to take part in this race, if she succeeds, he will repair Herbie for free, and if she wins, they will split the prize. Although Maggie was still scared, she agreed to take part in the race. Together they set about building Herbie into a race car. Then after washing Herbie, they replaced some of its parts. Meanwhile, Kevin also built a sunroom in Herbie, while Tripp and his friend Crash tried to solve Herbie's mystery. Tripp was trying to find out what was under the hood of this car and what engine was inside it so that he could defeat Tripp's supercar. That night, Maggie heard Ray and Sally talking. Sally said, hearing that she has received urgent news that the last investor is also going to lose her hand, Maggie decides to win the race at any cost and get the prize. Finally, a new day of the race comes, and then Tripp is surprised to see Herbie's new wonderful form. She asked Maggie how she met Max, and Maggie tried to engage her in conversation. At the same time, Kevin came there and took care of the matter. Soon the first round of the race started, in which many cars were taking part but only one won. Then this will happen. It was announced that the racer who won today would race with Tripp's car tomorrow, and if he defeated Tripp, he would get $1,000 in prize. After this the race started, and finally Herbie won the race by defeating everyone with his tremendous strength. Now tomorrow she will compete with Tripp's car. Then in the evening, Tripp was watching the video of today's race when he saw that red hair was visible from Max's helmet, and he realized that Max was none other than Maggie. Herbie, on the other hand, was once again drawn to the yellow Beetle as soon as she saw him. When Maggie saw him, she understood that Herbie had a mind of his own and she would have to adopt it. Then Kevin gave Maggie a good luck gift. Gave a necklace. Now both of them were about to kiss each other, but at the last moment, Tripp came from behind. He turned on the headlights and came towards them, spoiling the whole moment. He told Kevin that Kevin wants to talk to Maggie alone. After Kevin leaves, Tripp asks Maggie why she doesn't race her own car. Tripp explains that he himself started racing after being inspired by Maggie's grandfather, after which he told Maggie to ask if she wanted to drive a real race car. She gave Maggie the keys to her car and Maggie became very happy, whereas Herbie was very jealous seeing this because Maggie was leaving him and moving to another place. As soon as Maggie went out for a drive in the supercar while she was sitting in the car, Tripp took the opportunity to check Herbie's engine, but Herbie also tried to make him feel better by spraying petrol on his face and hitting him with the hood over his head. Now Tripp got angry. He came and took out a hammer from his box and started to attack Herbie hard, but Herbie had made his body so tough that not even a scratch could be made on him. As soon as Tripp turned to the other side, Herbie made a strange face. After a few moments, Maggie returned and said that it was the best drive of her life. Then Tripp made a deal with her and said that whoever wins tomorrow's race will get $1,000. At first, Maggie was afraid, but then she thought of her father's condition and immediately agreed to the condition. She knew that Tripp's car was very expensive and by selling it, she would be able to help her father. Also, she was sure that she would definitely win the race with Herbie. That is why she accepted the bet, but when Herbie understood that Maggie had bet on him, he felt very sad. Next morning when Maggie opened her eyes, she saw that her friend Charisma was in the kitchen. Charisma said that they should leave for New York earlier, but Maggie told her that today she has to go for a race competition. She asked Charisma to come with her. Then both of them reached Kevin's garage where Kevin told them that Herbie is acting strange. He asks Maggie to talk to the car. When Maggie angrily said to Herbie that you have to obey me, Herbie became even more angry. Well, when the time of the race came, Herbie and Tripp's car was ready for the race together. As soon as the race started, Herbie accelerated, started moving forward, but Tripp's car was repeatedly passing him. As he was about to reach the finish line, Herbie applied the brakes at the last moment and intentionally lost the race. At the same time, when Maggie came out of the car, Tripp revealed his true face to everyone. Asked to show, as soon as he took off his helmet, everyone was surprised to see him, then his father Ray also saw him. Maggie was very angry because of losing Herbie, so Kevin calmed her down and took Herbie from there. Asked to leave, and then Tripp appeared and told him about the new condition. After this he captured Herbie. At this Kevin left angrily, and then Ray came to talk to Maggie. He was very disappointed with Maggie because Maggie tried to convince her father, but he was not ready to listen to anything. Troubled by all this, Maggie decided to go to New York with Charisma today, but Charisma told her not to. Explaining that he shouldn't waste his racing skills like that, Maggie finally realized this and went to get Tripp's car back, but Tripp told that his friend Crash had gone for a drive with Herbie, but the truth was that Herbie was stuck in a monster truck competition where it was going to be badly eliminated. As soon as the show started, many heavy vehicles started colliding with Herbie together. Seeing him, Maggie ran to help her immediately, but the security guards stopped her path. Then she went to the owner of this place and said that she wants to buy her car back. Then the old man said that if this car comes back in a piece, then free. Taking me in a monster truck came there at the same time and was ready to pieces the Herb. During this time, Charisma dreamed the attention of the security guard. Then Maggie got down in the field. Now she got down now she got away from these heavy vehicles and escapes from these heavy vehicles to Herb. As soon as Herbie saw Maggie, she became very happy and she saw a ray of hope. But suddenly the monster truck was about to fall on her, but then at the last moment, Herbie came over Maggie at the last moment. Sit inside the sunroof and thus saved his life. After which he threw the Crash out of the driver's seat, and then Maggie and Herbie together trying to get out of here. The Herb was escaping from every car coming in front of him, but then monster from behind. The truck came to crush her. Now the Herb climbed on another car and jumped into the air, and after defeating all the vehicles on the monster truck, Maggie took Herbie directly to Kevin's workshop when she saw this condition of Herb, so he got very nervous, but still he started repairing it. Then the next day both of them came to see the race of Junior, but this time too, he got an accident when he was taken to the hospital. It was found that he was having trouble looking with his left eye. Then the doctor told that, and on Sunday, Hargis cannot participate in the race. Then Ray Jr. told his father to allow Maggie to participate in the race instead, but Ray refused to be it. But then Maggie said that he had a dream of becoming a racer since childhood. He asked his father that only one accident reason for from. He did not let him participate in the race, even though he did not stop him despite his brother having so many accidents. Then Ray was emotional and said that you look exactly like your mother. I have lost her once, I have not lost her once again, want to lose. And the other side, Kevin needed some parts to repair Herbie, but his supplier said that he would get new goods till he would not get the old account. At the same time, he came there and he came to his sister in his place next car competition, asked to be taken, but Maggie said that she will take part in the race only with Herb. Her brother called her entire team there to repair Herb, and in a short time they all together. After this, he painted Herbie and gave it a new look. After this, on Sunday, the Tripp car reached the stadium for competition. Then he was surprised to see Herbie there. He asked the Crash that despite his saying, why not the pieces of Herb despite his saying. Larry was done then to Tripp. Told that he has got a new ad contract, but at this time it did not matter all for the Tripp. Before the race, Maggie spoke to Herbie and apologized to him, after which he decided to work together and frayed together. I landed in everyone where everyone's eyes were on him. At the same time Ray saw Maggie on TV. He was very nervous because he did not want Maggie to threaten his life and everyone on the track. Racers changed their steering wheels and then everyone did a test drive for warm-up. As soon as the match started, everyone's car went ahead with great quickly, but Herbie and Maggie left behind, but soon they too soon moved forward rapidly. During this time, Ray also decided to go straight to the stadium to see his daughter racing, and there was the Tripp in the race, but in a short time the Herb also near her. It reached, but then suddenly the other vehicles surrounded them. Maggie was not getting a place to get ahead. But then Maggie heard the voice of her father and she said that Maggie is very capable of winning this race. In Maggie it was filled with and came out of the circle of vehicles, but now the problem was that the petrol was leaking from the Herbie tank, and without fixing it, he could not win the race, after which mechanics during the stop the tank leak was corrected, but now the condition of the Herb was such that if a single collision occur, she will not be able to complete the race, after which the race started again. And this time he was next to the Tripp. Now both the vehicles were running together and he was just a little distance away from the victory. Tripp tried to hit Herbie, and during this time the sticker of Herbie tank came out. When Tripp tried to hit again, Maggie applied brakes at the last time, causing the Tripp to a straight wall. He collided but went ahead with a dangerous stunt, climbing the fence on the Herb side and went ahead of all the vehicles. Finally she won the race, and with this she became the first woman winner of the Maggie Championship. Celebrated, and here the Tripp was angrily furious and saying that this car is ghostly. After all, After waiting for many years, Kevin kissed Maggie finally, and then Maggie thanked him for his help. Weeks later, we see that Ray asked Herbie to return home early because a few days later a very big race was going to happen. While the Herbie liked the video on the drive with his girlfriend Beetle at night, then liked to subscribe to the channel, then subscribe to the channel. Lena, see you in the next video.